My name is Erica Feldman. I'm with the Philadelphia Youth Network. And just so I can get a sense, because I was surprised to learn this morning how many people were not from Philly. So how many of you are Philly-based people? Okay, a lot of you. How many are familiar with PYN? Okay, most of you. Great, so I will be pretty brief on that piece of things. But we recently released a career development framework, and the goal of that is to build a high-quality ecosystem, we're calling it, for career pathways in our community here in Philadelphia, but also in other communities. So for those of you not familiar with the Philadelphia Youth Network, we are a solutions builder, and this is sort of the fancy language, forging together significant players to alleviate a root cause of poverty by preparing 12 to 24-year-olds to become productive and working adults. What that means is that we work with the school district, we work with the city, we work with nonprofits, we work with employers to build employment pathways and preparation for secondary education for young people in the city. And we often serve as the intermediary to bring those different groups of folks together. Some of you who may be familiar with us may know us through our Summer Work Ready program, so that's one of our flagship programs. We also have the E3 centers for students, young people looking to re-engage after having dropped out, through Project U-Turn, working on reducing the dropout rate and increasing the re-engagement rate. So a lot of work throughout the city, all in this goal of alleviating poverty through education and employment. One of the backstories to this career development framework that is relevant is that one of our funders came to us and said that young people were not meeting the demands of employers. And despite the fact that there were jobs, young people were not getting employed, and wanted to learn what is a set of skills that employers want young people to have, and could we help craft that list? So we went down that pathway, and this is a much longer story, but basically what we discovered is that's not what is needed. A lot of those lists are out there, and what we discovered was the real problem is, and this has come up all day in every session I've been in, is that people are working in silos. So the research is not making it to the practitioners, the educators are not speaking with the employers, and that what we really saw emerging as our role was not that we needed another list of competencies, but we needed a way to bring people together and to try to create something that spoke to everybody and work towards that idea of an ecosystem, a continuum, something so that everybody could see themselves on this framework and on this map and could coordinate. What we discovered was the real problem was that missing link between the different stakeholders. And so we developed this career development framework in order to put linkages between all of the people involved, all of the people who have a vested interest in the success of our young people. And this is the final version after many, many iterations and ideas and plans. This is where we landed, and we released this in January within our community, and then very quickly the city in their workforce development plan adopted it, and it's now part of the city workforce development plan. And I want to spend a few minutes talking about the goals of the framework, and then we'll delve back into the pieces of this that might relate to some of the research that all of you are doing. So our goals in building this were to create a shared understanding among policymakers, funders, intermediaries, educators, employers, and practitioners. We wanted to support practitioners in their efforts to increase the scale and quality of career development opportunities and activities. And that's a key piece to this is not a framework that is a program framework. This doesn't tell you which activities to do or how to do them. This is not a pedagogy, it's not a curriculum. Internally, we have used it to develop programmatic frameworks to say, based on this goal, this aspirational goal that this career development framework lays out, what do we need to do in our different programs on the ground? And so it's used to support practitioners in their efforts to do this, but not to dictate which types of activities to provide. help employers to identify and take on a broader set of roles in the successful career development of young people. One of the things that we learned in a lot of our conversations was that there was a big disconnect between what employers expected and the investments that they were making in this system and this continuum. And this career development framework gave us a way to talk to employers to say, this is what young people need, this is what you're looking for, here's how we bridge those two things. Assist funders, similarly to employers, in aligning their investments with their desired impact on the career pathway system. Similarly, funders sometimes wanted a certain outcome, but invested in activities that didn't match that, and this allowed for that visualization of that continuum, and provide policymakers with research-backed information to inform their decision-making processes. And the city has been very interested in this, and it's been a place where we can begin to talk about what is the continuum that young people need and try to break away from those isolated activities and inputs towards something that's more cohesive and on a continuum. Okay, so breaking this down a little bit, I just want to take a little time to walk through the different pieces with you. So across the top banner, we have the career continuum. So the early phase is around awareness, and that is around building awareness about the variety of careers and career pathways available and the role of post-secondary education. So if anyone listened to the talk about ninth grade academies, that is a piece where we really aligned with the district, where the district is looking to introduce those early opportunities to ninth graders to build that awareness. And Michelle Armstrong in CTE wanted to be here, but she couldn't. But she did share something where they have aligned the opportunities that they're trying to provide with this framework. And she has that if anybody's interested in seeing that. In the intermediate, the exploration and preparation involves activities related to learning through engagement and targeted work-based experiences and solidifying foundational skills. In advanced is training and immersion, and that's developing career-specific skills and authentic career experiences. And those are your more advanced internships and things of that nature. Between advanced and advancement in green is career entry. And one of the things this framework does that I will talk more about in a couple of slides that's kind of unique after the landscape of research we looked at is to not look at career entry as an endpoint, which a lot of these types of tools do. They look at career entry as an endpoint. And we very specifically wanted to say that's a moment in time, and advancement is where you begin to develop the skills towards that more fulfilling career pathway, that more family-sustaining wages. And so advancement involves, and I'm going to go through the specific things in there, but that's the continuing to grow and learn and develop and build that. So I'm going to very quickly walk through the skills and mindsets that we included on this. And this research was done based on literature reviews, a lot of work out of the Chicago Consortium on School Research, which has come up several times today, interviews with employers, focus groups, practitioners, the school district. So we built both the continuum and the skills and mindsets from a large body of research. It was not original research, more literature review and qualitative research that was original research. The 21st century skill development, there are a lot of things that could go in this banner, and we had to narrow it down. So we looked at some data out of child trends that correlated which skills led to successful employment and pulled those. There are other ones that are valid, but these are the ones that rose to the top in terms of correlation between college and career success. Character development, similar thing. This is based on an aggregation of a lot of research plus conversations with employers. And then one that I want to spend a moment on because it's overlooked in a lot of frameworks and lists of skills that are desired in young people, and that's this reflective practice piece. It came up as metacognition in a lot of research, and that is not a term that resonates with many practitioners. But what the research demonstrates, and some of you may be very familiar with this, is that identifying and understanding skill development and being able to articulate the skills that you possess is when they are integrated and you are able to utilize the skills. And this is often overlooked in practice. So some of the research that I looked most deeply at, if those three top banners are being addressed, but a young person doesn't take that time for the reflective practice to understand what skills they're developing, a lot is lost. And so one of the things we wanted to emphasize is this idea of reflective practice and supporting internally our programs to build that in and adjusting our assessment strategies to include monitoring of that. So on the right side of the framework, you see the young person, individual prepared for the future of work and career advancement. And so I want to highlight a couple of things here. One is all in those circles, that is all vetted through employer demand-driven research and conversations with employers in PYN's network. The future of work focuses on the direction that we believe the skills that are going to be needed as we move into the future of work. So virtual, adaptive, innovative, cross-cultural, multidisciplinary, computational, design-driven, that more entrepreneurial approach to work. In a lot of ways, that's what's already here, but is the future of work. And I just wanna, you can read through the bubbles, but one that I wanna point out that came up the most when I asked employers the question of which employees move beyond entry-level employment into higher rungs, manager, supervisor, into higher rungs. And universally what came up was demonstrates a desire to continuously learn and grow. The idea of the person who shows initiative, wants to do more than they're asked, wants to reflect and learn. Every employer, without prompting, brought up some version of that. And I think an interesting direction for future research is how to overtly teach that to young people who don't seem to have, some young people just walk in with that. For those who don't, what can we do as practitioners and educators to specifically cultivate that mindset? I just want to spend the last minute or so, had gone through the goals before, but I wanted to just take a moment to say a couple of places where this is already playing out. I mentioned that at the school district, the Office of Career and Technical Education is embedding it into some of the opportunities that they're creating for young people. It's also playing out into the senior year only option for young people here in the district. At PYN, we realized that that green advancement portion, we had a lot less programming there than we did on the earlier stages, and have begun a number of pilots around pre-apprenticeship, career bridging. We have a pilot program called the Hub. So a lot of things, we are trying to bolster our programming. By looking at this, we were able to map our programming onto this career development framework and say, where do we have a lot of strong programming? Where are the gaps? And we're starting to see that as we work with other organizations, they're able to do the same. In our summer programming, we're updating our learning plans to reflect the career development framework, and we're updating our assessment strategy to reflect that. So there's lots of places that this is coming into play in the city, and we're looking forward to expanding on that. So that's a pretty quick run through. I'm happy to take questions at the end, but that is our framework. That's my email. If you have questions, you can get both the framework and our two-pager that describes what it is and why it's unique and how to use it on our website.